How important was it to you and Coach Sweeney to get Tony's salary bumped up now that there's not two offensive coordinators being paid?
Well, it was very important, and I think from the standpoint of where Coach Sweeney with his staff and the work that Tony's done over the last couple of years in the co-coordinator role, it was market, it was deserved, it was something that was very much on Dabo's radar when he and I sat down. So, really happy that we were able to get this salary pulled together, the package pulled together for him to stay here, and that the board was with us and was able to approve that.
I would imagine part of the reason to get it done was to make not only Tony happy, but maybe keep him here for a couple of years, give him reason to have incentive to stay for a while.
Absolutely. Tony is an incredibly loyal individual. He loves Clemson. He's a Clemson man. Okay, and I think that this just starts to talk about that commitment from Clemson back to Tony and his family.
Is there a reason why he's on 2 years and Venables is on 5?
Tony's on 3.
Tony's on 3. Okay, what's the thought process behind that?
Dabo and I really didn't run down that road. I think it's maybe just a little different from a market perspective, but I think that both of them are incredibly highly valuable to our program.
And you added another year back to Brent, but also went to 2.4 to keep it on the back end of that. The thought process there, keeping Brent at 5?
Well, I think it's kind of where he is, and one of the things we want to do is we don't want to change that dynamic right now. I think all these contracts, if Brent was going to make a lateral move, there's significant penalty associated with that. I think when you get to spots where Tony is, where Jeff was, where Brent is, your next moves are moving on to become head coaches. So it's a good thing for us to keep him here with his salary and some allocation dollars to the split dollar. So I think it's really important for us to maintain the status quo that we've established a few years ago.
Do you have an idea of where the staff stands nationally in total compensation?
It's a great question because right now there's a lot of universities in this, okay, season's over, let's move forward with the contracts. A clearer picture of that usually occurs in June when everybody's kind of settled in. But we feel very confident we're in the top 3-4 of salary pools. We have been, and I wouldn't imagine that this year's increases will significantly change that number.
You mentioned other deals being done with Kevin Steele going to 2.5. Was there any talk of trying to get Brent to the highest paid assistant?
I don't know. Coach Steele is not at 2.5, I don't believe. I think it's 3,
well,
2.3.
I think it's 3 years at 2.5. So from a total value,
that's what it was.
Being at 12, he has the highest value contract.
And again, it might be like recruiting rankings, okay? So we really love Brent. He loves us here, and we think he's compensated incredibly well.
Obviously, compensation is one thing, but what do you guys as an administration feel like you are going to continue to do to keep Clemson football where it is?
I think our investments in the program continue to move ahead. If you drive by the Reeves Center right now, our practice fields are being redone. We are moving forward with a project that will go for phase 2 approval in front of our board in April of about a $68 million renovation into Memorial Stadium. So we continue to look at things to keep our program out front. There's the Clemson Applied Science Laboratory project that we're looking at. Kind of started a few years ago as just a little nook and cranny corner, and our student athletes really enjoyed that. And Coach Sweeney and Alex Bina, who runs that program, have seen the fruits of that. So we're going to expand that area over the next 12 months. So, little things from a dollar magnitude standpoint that really are allowing us to continue to stay at the forefront of what's important to our current student athletes and what may be important to prospective student athletes.
And I don't want to leave out Mike Noonan, but obviously a great season. How important was it to you to not only reward him but pay him in advance?
Well, Mike is phenomenal, and we're so proud of him and our soccer program, and it was Mike's time for us to look at the contract, and we came forward, had some discussions, and very happy to make sure that the compensation committee agreed with us on that one, getting him his new salary to $300,000.
I know this usually happens later. Is there talk of Dabo getting a new deal, or do you think he'll probably stay with the large one he just got this past year?
You know, we just did that in April. I think we're probably in a pretty good spot.
Are you?
Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead, Riley.
It's just kind of a different question from, I guess, the conversation we're having right now, but with how much people will criticize the out-of-conference schedule for Clemson football at 2021 slate, have you guys thought about adjusting any of that to kind of, I know people are going to always criticize, but have you thought about kind of looking at that again?
You know, it's something that we do. We always keep our ear to the ground. Are there other opportunities? But as you guys know better than most, you know, football schedules being made 10 to 12 to sometimes 15 years in advance. It makes it a little bit difficult. But we're not going to close the door on anything right up until the time that we're ready to play that schedule. You know, and I look at 2021, and it is a little bit of an anomaly given what we've done over the last decade and what's in front of us after 2021. It was 22 and 23 we're at Notre Dame, 24 we have Georgia, 25, 26 we have LSU, then we go back and do another 2 years with Notre Dame, and then Georgia, and then Oklahoma. So, I mean, we have these opponents. This 21 circumstance occurred because we played Notre Dame here in 15, and we're going back in 20 for the back end of that home and home because Notre Dame had just gotten into the league. So that's a long-winded answer to we keep our ear to the ground to try to see if there are other opportunities that might be out there.
Are you guys doing anything to prepare for the changes name, image, and likeness might bring?
Well, yeah, it's a great question because, you know, we're going to ACC meetings next week. All the athletic directors, FARs, and SWAs will get together next week. And I firmly believe that'll be the biggest thing, or one of the biggest things that we talk about. So I really will have a little bit more information, but you know, as you read things that come through the press over the last few months, it's out there. We're going to have to adapt, but the great thing about it is we're not adapting alone. There will be a lot of other programs that are adapting, and I would tell you that where we are as a football program, as an athletic department, I think Clemson's in a really good spot to make sure that we continue to give great opportunities to our student athletes, but also have that adaptability within our program to whatever the rules end up being.
When did you talk to Dabo? You said you talked to Dabo about Tony's deal. When would that conversation take
You know,
place?
we kind of got together a couple of Saturdays ago, spent a couple of hours together, just going through. You know, you guys really love the end of the year conversation that ADs have with their head coaches, and I will tell you that Dabo and I try to see each other at a minimum once every 2 weeks. So we have an ongoing dialogue throughout the year. So when we get together, for example, that one a couple of Saturdays ago when we talked about this particular item for the majority of the time, we did touch on other programmatic issues and other things within the program. So it was a great conversation. We kind of knew where we could move forward from as it related to a pool of dollars and some other things that were important to Dabo. We kind of touched on all those during that time period.
You mentioned the facility upgrades. Is that what exactly does that detail for the football program that you're talking about? Is that
Well, the
Memorial Stadium?
the Memorial Stadium, the change in the practice field turf, that's ongoing right now, and an expansion of the Clemson Applied Science Laboratory, that project. So those are the three that are football centric right now. The others, you know, the Memorial Stadium one, there'll be a redo of the locker room area underneath there for their game day, as well as some other seating opportunities within the stadium. So all of that, as I said, will go back for phase 2 approval to our board come April.
All right, and the football fields, practice fields, is that like all three are going to be artificial turf now, or just a couple of them?
No, they'll all maintain the natural turf.
Okay, natural turf, okay.
But it's just a new system. You guys may remember a few years ago, we put in a new outfield and we put in a new field over at Riggs that, you know, had the grass and the great drainage underneath it. That same type of field will be placed on the practice fields for our football program.
Oh, cool.
Anything else?
Thank you.
I'll do it.